Welcome to 10-Minute AI. I'm Dr. Jonathan Luckett. Together, we'll unpack big ideas in AI, one quick bite at a time.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into a really high-stakes power struggle over who gets to write the rules for artificial intelligence. This is a big deal, and the answer is going to have a huge impact on all of our lives. So this one question, it is right at the heart of this massive debate. You've got states on one side basically saying we have to protect our citizens, and we'll do it ourselves. And on the other side, you have the White House and the tech industry pushing back hard. It's a total showdown that's going to shape the future of AI in America. And the stakes here, they could not be higher. You know, AI has these two totally different faces. On one hand, there's this incredible promise, right? Cures for cancer, huge leaps in energy, education customized for every single kid. But on the flip side, there's the peril. We're already seeing voice theft, scams targeting seniors, and those really convincing political deepfakes.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll look at the Wild West situation we're in right now. Then we'll dive into the argument for states taking the lead. After that, we'll cover the push for just one rulebook from the federal government, explain a really dramatic executive order, and finish up with the huge, unresolved debate at the center of it all.
So first up, what some people are calling the Wild West of AI. This technology is moving at like lightning speed, but there are hardly any federal laws to keep it in check. And that's created this massive power vacuum, which, as you're about to see, is where things start to get really complicated.
You know, there's been a lot of talk in Washington, bipartisan meetings, hearings, the whole thing. But when it comes to actually passing laws, not so much. Senator Amy Klobuchar calls it institutional inertia, and it's left this really dangerous void. It's kind of wild because even the tech leaders who were once warning about these huge risks are now either split or straight up lobbying against new rules.
So with the federal government pretty much stuck on the sidelines, states are stepping up. They're jumping into that void and writing their own rules for AI, and that is where this debate really ignites.
And the folks who support this state-level action, they're dusting off a classic American idea. This quote from Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis really captures it. The idea that states can be laboratories of democracy. In other words, they can try out new ideas and new solutions without putting the entire country at risk. It's pretty cool.
And hey, this isn't just some abstract theory. It's happening right now. States are passing actual laws to protect their citizens. For instance, Tennessee's Elvis Act, great name by the way, it protects artists from having their voices and likenesses stolen by AI. In Utah, companies now have to tell you if you're talking to an AI. These are real, tangible protections.
So, for these states, it really just boils down to this. They feel like they can't afford to sit around and wait for a deadlock Congress while people are actually getting hurt. They see it as their right, and honestly their duty, to act now before it's too late.
Okay, but there's a whole other side of this story. Not everyone is on board with the states being in charge. In fact, the tech industry and the White House are pushing back, and they're pushing back hard, arguing for one single set of rules from the feds. Let's dig into their argument.
President Trump has been super clear about where he stands. In this post, you can see he argues that having a patchwork of 50 different rulebooks is just going to kill American innovation before it can even get going.
So what's the big fear here?
Well, the argument is that this patchwork of state laws will create a total regulatory nightmare. Just imagine you're a small AI startup. You'd have to navigate, 38 different sets of rules just to launch your product nationwide. They also worry it could put the U.S. way behind in the global race to dominate AI. And this chart, wow, it really shows you the scale of this so-called patchwork problem they're talking about. I mean, look at this. In 2025, every single one of the 50 states introduced AI bills, and nearly 40 of them, 38 to be exact, actually passed them into law. Can you imagine trying to navigate that legal minefield if you're a business?
So things were already pretty tense, right? But then the White House made a move that basically threw gasoline on the fire. An executive order was issued, and it just took this whole conflict to a completely new level.
And the pushback was immediate, and it was fierce. People like Florida Governor Ron DeSantis basically said the president doesn't have the authority to just wipe away state laws with the stroke of a pen. That power, they argue, belongs to Congress. This whole idea is called preemption, and it's right at the center of this legal fight. Now, a lot of people are looking at this and saying, okay, follow the money. They see this executive order as a massive win for Silicon Valley. Tech giants like OpenAI and these really powerful venture capital firms, they've been lobbying like crazy for the federal government to step in and stop the states.
And this executive order isn't just some suggestion on a piece of paper. No, it's a plan of attack. It creates a task force to literally sue states. It tells the Secretary of Commerce to single out onerous state laws. And it even threatens to cut off federal funding to states that don't get in line. But here's the kicker. The whole thing might not even be legal. As one expert put it, the president cannot preempt state laws through an executive order, full stop. I mean, that's pretty clear, right? So this fundamental question of who actually has the authority here is very much still up in the air.
So after all that, where are we? Well, we're basically stuck. We're a nation at a crossroads with no clear path forward on how to regulate AI. We're in this high-stakes stalemate, and really, the future of AI in America is just hanging in the balance.
This really breaks down the two competing philosophies in this whole debate. On one side, you have folks who say states have to be on the front lines, acting as those laboratories of democracy. On the other side, you've got the president and the tech industry arguing that a patchwork of laws is just a disaster waiting to happen for American innovation.
And the opposition is not mincing words. Senators like Ed Markey are calling the plan a sellout to CEO billionaire buddies. They're really framing this as a battle between everyday American people and the massive, powerful interests of big tech.
So at the end of the day, here's the really scary part. Congress is gridlocked. The executive order is tangled up in serious legal questions, and all the while this incredibly powerful technology is just barreling forward with nobody really steering the ship.
So that leaves us with this huge, critical question as this technology just completely reshapes our world. Are we going to have a patchwork of state-by-state protections or a single, top-down federal blueprint designed for innovation? The path we choose isn't just going to decide the future of AI in America. It's going to say a whole lot about who we are as a nation. What do you think is the right way to go?
That's today's 10-Minute AI. I'm Dr. Jonathan Luckett. See you next time for another fast take on the future.